Good afternoon, everyone. We are here today to discuss a very, very important topic. And I note right away that the individual, the Honorable Congressman Judi Chu, that made this meeting possible, has just joined us. So I welcome her, and I'm sure that those from California, from her own district, also welcome her today. Let me just say one word before I turn the podium over. We have two different titles for this particular session. The original briefing, which I think is apt, says 450 days after the court ruling on Iran opposition, why is the State Department flouting U.S. law? And today, it's a little bit more diplomatic. It asks the question, why is there a delay? Now let me say this. I served in a senior position at the Department of Justice and also at the Department of State, and I take very seriously the idea of flouting the law. That is a very, very serious charge. So I don't want to use my own words about flouting the law. I simply want to quote from the ruling, the decision of the United States Court of Appeals on January 12, 2010. And it concluded that the Secretary of State, quote, has failed to accord the PMOI the due process protections. Those are the protections of the United States Constitution. And it's not only the U.S. Constitution that requires it, but it is also the past decisions of the U.S. Court of Appeals. So one has to ask the question, why would the State Department, with all of its legion of lawyers, refuse to comply with something so elementary that you learn in high school civics? And does this have anything to do with the delay that we have seen? And I think this question is particularly auspicious today as we hear the news of Iran's involvement in this terrible plot to assassinate a foreign ambassador on U.S. soil. We may ask ourselves, is there any connection between all of this? I'm not suggesting that there is, but there is something peculiar when it takes so long for the State Department not only to reach a decision, but also to fail to accord minimal due process. Well, a lot of questions have been raised, and I'm very pleased to now introduce the Honorable Judi Chu. The Congresswoman is the Democratic representative from the state of California. She is a distinguished member of the House Judiciary Committee, where she serves on its subcommittee on crime, terrorism, and homeland security. Congresswoman, please.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for that very warm welcome. And it's so great to see my friends and the most dedicated activists ever of the California Society for Democracy in Iran back here on Capitol Hill. I was very, very happy to host you, and I'm always impressed by your commitment to the cause. It's because of you that this issue has gotten so far, and I would say it's only a matter of time before we are able to see some kind of victory. And in fact, you have had, of course, a victory in the court's decision, the U.S. Court of Appeals, which did find that PMOI was not awarded due process when the petition to be removed as a terrorist organization was denied by the State Department. But 450 days have passed, and yet we still haven't had the action. And the State Department still has not given a response. Every day of delay means another day where peaceful MEK, democratic leaders, and activists are at risk. And it's so important that the U.S. uses its influence to protect the advocates who are fighting for democracy so that they can continue to do what they do. And we know that Iran is using this U.S. terrorist designation to attack MEK leaders who are opposed to the rule. As long as MEK is listed as a foreign terrorist organization, thousands of the residents at Camp Ashraf are at risk and subject to brutality. And in fact, I will never forget seeing the video of the last attack that was done, and it was terrifying. So we cannot wait any longer, and we must make sure that those who are fighting for democracy are safe. So it's well past the time to heed the federal court's order and to remove, we must remove Iran's largest opposition group from that terrorist designation. Let's keep up the pressure. Let's make sure that your voices are heard. We will continue until we see this done. So thank you, and I hope you have a very, very wonderful and informative briefing.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Good to see you all again. Thank you for being in Washington. Every day that goes by, we have another example of what this regime in Iran is doing. I mean, whether it's in Iraq, whether it's in Afghanistan, whether it's a Saudi ambassador, whatever. We know who the problem is. And you know, I almost laughed if it wasn't so tragic. This morning's Washington Post story on the on this terrorist arrest said the United States now is scrambling around to figure out what do we do next. What is, you know, we've done sanctions. What do we do next? They're not sure what to do next. Well, we already know what to do next. I mean, there's three things we could do, today. Delist the MEK, number one. Number two, make sure the Ashraf residents know that they are under protection. And number three, adopt the third way that Mr. Javi has been talking about for so many years. I don't know what the State Department is scrambling around with. I mean, they're still working on this thing of after 450 days now. I mean, this is irresponsible. It's counter to law. So I say to the State Department, stop scrambling around. The plan is here. Let's just do it. You could announce it today. You could announce it tomorrow. You should have announced it, a year ago. But clearly, we have to deal with Iran. Clearly, we're not going to invade. We've got to stop coddling these guys with, allowing them in Ashraf, allowing them in Iraq. I mean, we spent, 5,000 American lives, billions, almost trillions of dollars in Iraq, and who's going to take over after we leave? Iran. I mean, what kind of foreign policy is that? So let's do the third way. Let's get out of the way of the internal resistance. The steps are there. You have been talking about them for many years now. It's simple, it's clear-cut, it's direct, and it'll be effective. There's nothing more to say, except some people haven't said it yet, like my friend Congressman Rohrabacher. You're going to be introduced here, but can I just say the person, this has been a bipartisan situation that you have cultivated supporters on both sides of the aisle, as we say, both political parties. That's really important. Congressman Rohrabacher has taken the lead on the Republican side. He has always been there. He's always active, and he's going to say a few words to you now. Congressman Dana Rohrabacher from California.
Please sit down. Bob, that standing ovation was for you, not for me. This is a significant day for a number of reasons. We also take note that it has been 450 days. It's been 450 days since our government was given the mandate to explain why they have designated the MEK as a terrorist organization, and our government has not responded. What's the holdup? I mean, what's holding things up is the fact that our government is treating a gangster regime in Iran with kid gloves, and that they are, and here we are afraid to actually conduct ourselves honestly and openly here for fear of some way insulting or enraging the mullah regime in Iran. What can be more ridiculous than that? If we try to go out of our way to be concerned about the about the feelings of another country, it should be a democratic country and a group of people who are struggling for freedom, not a bunch of gangsters who repress their own people. The fact is that we should be more concerned about the safety and well-being of the MEK that would want democracy for Iran than we are concerned about the feelings of the mullahs who repress the people of Iran. This is absurd. I call on our government to step up to the plate, start reflecting American values instead of exhibiting cowardice in the face of tyranny, and make sure that people recognize that the honest designation of what the MEK is. And it's time for us to make sure that we are on the side of the people who are struggling for freedom without any hesitation on the part of the people of Iran. They should know, yes, Americans are on our side. By making sure that by keeping the MEK designated as a terrorist organization, all we are doing is sending the wrong message there that people who are willing to fight against tyranny are in some way terrorists. Well, that doesn't fit. And so I'm calling on our government today to get with it, obey the law. Let's have a redesignation. We got to keep the pressure on. That's number one. But number two, what happened yesterday? What happened yesterday? We found out that representatives of the mullah regime in Iran were trying to hire members of the drug cartel in Mexico to murder a foreign diplomat by blowing him up here in Washington, D.C. That is a conspiracy to commit a murder, a political murder in the United States. When we don't stand up and when we are not strong before gangsters like the mullahs that are running Iran, this is what we can expect. This isn't some aberration. This isn't something that, how could we have ever suspected that the Iranian mullahs would ever do a thing like this? No way. This is exactly what you expect of tyrants and gangsters when you kowtow to them and you make them, and you are so concerned about their feelings. No. There's going to be more of this if we don't stand strong, and the first way to show that we stand strong is to back those people in the MEK who are right on the border of Iran and who are standing tall, telling the Iranian people there is an alternative to this brutal regime that's stamping out your freedom. So with that said, I know you will agree with me that we need to continue to keep the pressure on the people who are making decisions in the United States government to be courageous and represent our values. That's their job. Our job is to put the pressure on them, and then it's the job of the United States of America, of all of us, to side with those who are struggling for democracy and freedom wherever they are in the world. Thank you very much.